Hi, I'd like to talk about jQuery. And what I want to talk about today is, showing and hiding elements with jQuery, because using this we can do a lot. We can create, web pages that act like applications with various views, okay? And, there's a lot of libraries that'll do this for you, but it pays to sort of understand the basics of it so you can customize and do some of these things on your own. So today I'm using brackets. It's a pretty cool little text editor that's free. I'd recommend everybody download this and try it out. So there it is, right? And here we are. We have a simple web page with the basic stuff. So to get started here, what I want to do is I want to create a couple divs. So there's a div there. And here's another div here. And let's make another one. And then for each of these divs, I'm going to give them all a class name. And I'll call it, I'll call them all box. How about that? That'll be simple. And let's name this guy box here. Oops, I need a space up there. Okay, so you could style them all by box, and we can call them all out by box, okay? Let's add a list up here. And in our list, I'm going to create a couple list items, and I'm going to use an anchor tag in here. We could actually simplify this and leave the anchor out, but I feel that probably more often than not, you'll have the anchor tag in code that you'll really write. So I'm going to put it in for this example, okay? And the link right here could actually be anything. I'm just going to put the hash mark in there. And then maybe I'll just put some names in here. I'll say apple, banana, and cherry. We'll just make them fruit names, okay? So what's our goal here? Well, I got 3 boxes and 3 links, and what I want to do is display one of the boxes as you click the link. Okay? So before we get too far here, we'll probably need some styles. So I'll add the style tag here. I'll just put the styles in this document. You could put the styles in your, in your regular, like a separate style sheet, right? And let's style box, right? So all the boxes will be, let's say width, 100%. And I don't have any content. If they had content, we wouldn't need to give them a height, but I'm going to give them all a height. So I'll say height, 400 pixels or something, right? And then I'll need to give each one of these boxes like a unique color so we can tell them apart, right? So maybe on this first box here, I'll give this guy an ID, and I'll name him, I'll just name it A. And then the second one, I'll give it an ID of B. And then the third one will be an ID of C, okay? And then up here, I can style A to have a background color of, let's make it red. And then B can have a background color of yellow, and C can have a background color of blue. Okay, so there's my boxes there. Let's take a look at this in the browser. And we're going to look at jQuery in a minute. Let's make a new window here. And I think I guess I can't grab that. Maybe I can grab it here. And no. Let's see. Let's show in Finder there. and then we'll drag this file into the browser here. Oh, there's my file there. And there's my 3 bands of color, right? So how are we going to, like really what I want to do is I want to show none of these, and then you click on one and then it appears. And you click on the other one and the yellow one appears. Or click on this one and the blue one appears. So, so let's get started. So we're going to use jQuery for this, right? So I'm going to go to jQuery, and I'll go to download jQuery. And if you scroll a little ways here, you'll find using jQuery with a CDN. And what I want to do is I want to grab the first script tag here. You don't need both of these, just the first one. Okay, so I'm going to grab just the first one, and I'll go back to my document, and maybe right above here in the head of the document below the title, I'll paste the script tag. So this script tag is going to load jQuery from the internet. Okay, it's going to load the file off the web. So if we don't have a web connection, this isn't going to work. You can also download jQuery and then load it from a local file. But the CDN is kind of convenient. If you're using this locally, like I'm running the file locally, the link by default doesn't include the HTTP colon. I'm going to add that to it because otherwise it won't load locally, though it would work if it was on your web server. So I'm going to put that in here, and then we should be loading jQuery. Okay, so what are we going to do next? At the bottom of the file here, at the bottom of the file, what I want to do is type the script tag here, and in my script tag I'm going to call on, jQuery and have it do some stuff for me. Okay, so what I want to do first is I want to hide all of the boxes. So this will be really simple. We're going to use $ parentheses to invoke jQuery. And in this mode, you pass it a selector, and then jQuery is going to act on the selection. So you can use any valid CSS selector. So I'm going to use the box selector because my boxes all have that class name in common. And jQuery has a helper method called hide, which will hide these. Okay, so let's switch back to our web browser. And now I'm going to refresh my page here, and the colored boxes are hidden. Okay? So the next step here is to show them by clicking on the links here. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another jQuery selector, and I want to select each one of these links. And so I need a way to get them. I want them all to have the same script. Okay? We could add a script to them separately, but it'll be easier just to script them all as a group. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually give this UL an ID name, and we'll call it, how about nav? Okay, so like I said, we can select elements with jQuery using regular CSS selectors. So I'm going to use the nav selector here, but we can also do the child selector. So I'm going to say nav child list item child anchor. Okay, let's make that a little bigger there so we can read it. So this little arrow means the child element. So if we're starting at the UL of nav, and then the child element is a list item, and then that list item has a child element that's an anchor tag, and that should get us to here. So that's going to select everything on the page that matches this selection, and it should be all 3 of these guys. And now we can act on that selection with the dot here. We can say dot and call one of jQuery's methods. Okay, and so what I want to do is I want to click on one of those items. So I'll say click, and then we'll fill this in with a function. Okay, and since this is a function that acts on an event, a click event, this function is allowed to receive a parameter called event. Okay, so you can put any variable name here that you like, but it's going to be an event object. Right, this will be a JavaScript object that contains information describing the event that just occurred. So when you click, that's an event, and this object here will describe the event. And what's going to happen is when we click, it's going to invoke this function and pass to it an object describing the event. So this object has a lot of information in it. It tells you where the event occurred on the screen and some other stuff, right? So we'll get more into this later, right? So what I want to do now is I want to figure out which one of these links you clicked on. And we can do that with the keyword this, okay? So that'll be the object that we clicked on. So if we click on, if we're selecting all three of those and adding a click action to all three of these, when I say this in here, that's going to be exactly the link you clicked on. So if I clicked on banana, then this is going to be the anchor tag containing banana because we added a click action to that one, right? Okay. So we're going to find out the item that we clicked on, and then maybe we'll add a class to it to show that it's selected, okay? So let's do that. Let's do $this dot, add class, and then, maybe the class will be, we'll just call it selected. Okay, and we're adding a class name here, but we don't need to put the dot in front because we know that this is a class name, so we'll just put the name in there. So if we're going to use this selected class, we should give it a style. So why don't we style it up here? So in my style sheet there, I'll say selected. You are going to be background. How about black? And color. This will be the text color. White. I'm just going to pick some easy values here, right? And let's give that a test. So we'll refresh that, and when I click on it, you can see the background becomes black, and then the text becomes white. Okay. Now you'll notice every time I click on one of these, it gains the selected class, right? And so, when I look at them here, you can see that each one of these guys gain this selected class. You can see it in the inspector there. Let's refresh our page and we'll do it again, right? So here you can see this anchor doesn't have any class name on it. When I click it, it gains the selected class. Okay, so that's working, but really I only want to be able to select one of these at a time, okay? So why don't we remove the selected class from all of the other elements and add the selected class to the one that we clicked. So here we're going to say this add class selected, and then jQuery allows us to chain these functions together. So essentially here we're creating a selection of elements, applying this function to the selection, and then if we put another function on the end here with the dot, we're going to apply this function to the current selection. One of the things jQuery lets you do, some of the functions let you modify the selection. So I'm going to use that one here. I'm going to use siblings. Okay, or actually, you know what? I'm not going to use siblings. I forgot. Siblings won't work in this case because maybe we'll use that one later. I just remembered it's not going to work here because the anchor tags are not siblings. They're actually, they're only children of each with an individual parent, right? So anyway, so we'll do it this way. We'll say $, select, and we'll do the same selection here, and then we'll say remove class. And so I'll just remove the class selected from all the anchor tags, and then we'll add the class selected to this anchor tag, or the one that we clicked on. Okay, let's give that a try. So before, if I click, they all become selected. Now when I refresh, I'll click banana and it's selected, but when I click cherry, banana is not selected anymore. Okay, so there we go. So now how do we get the colored boxes down here, these divs, to show up? What I'm going to do is I'm going to assign in the href here, I'm going to assign the ID name. So this first one's going to be A, B, and the third one will be C. Okay? So we got A, B, C, and that matches the boxes here. So this is going to handle, the style of the anchor tag that we clicked on to show a selected one, or show which one is currently selected. And then down here, we're going to get the ID name of the box, right, or the div, and then show that one and hide the others. Okay? So first of all, to get the ID of the box, let's call it, box ID maybe. Okay, so to get that ID name, we're going to say $, this, so that's the anchor tag that you clicked on, and then jQuery provides a method called attr that stands for attribute, and it allows you to get the value of an attribute. Okay, so you just give it the name of the attribute. I'm going to say href, and then it'll return the value. So remember, attributes are these little elements that you add to a tag, and they have a name followed by the equal and then a value in the quotation marks. So if I say, this attribute href, it's going to give me, if you clicked on cherry, it would give me, $C. Okay? So now that we've got that, we can make a selection. Okay? And then we can say, okay, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we select all of the boxes here and say you guys are all going to hide. One of them might be visible. Not right now, we already hid them, but we might make one visible and then we'll need to hide it again. And then we'll make another selection, and this selection is going to be the ID name of the box that we got here from the link, and we're going to say you can show. So hide and show are kind of, the opposite, right? Like hide hides an element, you can't see it. Show makes that element visible. And we can add some animation to this. I'll do it later. It's a little hokey, but it does work. So let's give it a try. So there we go. Hide all the boxes. Show the one box that matches the value here in the href. So let's refresh. I'll click on apple, and we get the red box. Click on banana, click on cherry, right? So you'll notice when I click on these guys, the page jumps up, and that's because the link has the hash value in it, like hash BAC, right? And so what happens is the page will, like when you use an ID name in a link as the href, the page automatically jumps to that element, and we might actually want that, right? If we don't want that, we can use the event object to prevent the default behavior of the link. So the link is what's making us jump to this address, right, or to this element. And if we want to prevent that behavior, we can say event. Remember, event is coming up from here, from the event object, and we can say prevent default. Okay? So now we'll test our page again. So remember, before when we click, the page jumps to, jumps up so that the box with the ID is aligned with the top. Now I'll refresh, and when I click on banana, you'll see that the page no longer jumps anymore, right? And there we go. And of course, like, this is very simple style, so you could add other styles to, make this a lot more interesting, right? But and then also, like, I just set the height here, but you could put other content in there, and there could be, more content, right? So you could have, divs and text and pictures and anything inside these colored boxes, right? So there you go, and we've got a simple web page, but it's acting sort of like a software application rather than, a regular website. Okay. So hopefully that's helpful there.